So today I have 5 Carnage CGC 9.8 comics to buy before this Venom 2 trailer drops. Yeah, I kind of have a feeling like at any point this Venom 2 trailer is going to come out. But, I think almost everyone out there knows that Amazing Spider-Man number 361, first full appearance of Carnage, is like the Carnage key issue to get if you're a huge Carnage fan. Probably the best like 1990s cover of all time for me. So if you're a big Carnage fan, you absolutely want a 361 for sure. I think another really cool Carnage grail is a Maximum Carnage number 1. Yeah, this one is known as the Akklaim variant. It's from 1994. It's a sort of like an early 90s low printed comic, and that's really weird. You don't see any early 90s low printed comics. So I know quite a few Carnage fans that are bigger Carnage fans than me, certainly, and they really lust after this one, or they already have it as well. So I think those are going to be kind of the 2 big Carnage grails to consider if you're the biggest Carnage fan. But today on the video, I want to get into just a few affordable, underfollowed Carnage options, I think, in the CGC 9.8. So first one up here, let's take a look at a Ruins of Ravencroft Carnage number 1 in the CGC 9.8. This one's a modern, yeah, pretty cool one. Just came out about a year ago, just last year, early last year. And I remember when it came out, the cover kind of really caught my eye, and you heard people in the comic book community talking about it. Because, Ruins of Ravencroft Carnage number 1, its first appearance of Cortland Kasady. So I have not read this one. I kind of got it on my reading list. It looks pretty interesting. But Cortland Kasady, just a little bit of research this morning. It seems like he's pretty much the first serial killer ever in America, or at least certainly the most prolific one that is well known in America. And he definitely is the sort of original descendant of Cletus Kasady. I think this one with Let There Be Carnage coming out, if, Carnage is a big hit on the big screen, this one will probably spike up during the movie. So 104 CGC 9.8s in the blue label for the first printing. 83.9% of all graded copies are CGC 9.8s. Mentioned in the first printing here, actually the second printing is the one that collectors are really gravitating to and paying up for. So the second printing has Cortland Kasady on the cover. Let's have a look at some of the prices in the 9.8. For the first printing, in an auction just in the last week or two here, I saw one sell for $53. I think that's definitely near the lower end of the pricing range. People paying maybe up to $80 for this one if they want it, now kind of deal. If they don't want to be patient for that auction. In the second printing though, this is a book that had just come out about a year ago. In the second print is selling for $249.99. So this is definitely becoming kind of the one-to-one if you're serious about this book. But I like the first print cover too. So the first print, maybe your budget's a little bit less, consider that one. And maybe the second print if you're pretty serious about this one. But yeah, I think when Venom 2 comes out, this one could get a little bit of a pop, it being a pretty cool modern Carnage key issue. Okay, next one is definitely a cool Carnage key issue, one that I'm really familiar with. An Amazing Spider-Man 431 in the CGC 9.8, first Cosmic Carnage, or not even really a first appearance, it's just kind of a cool story where Carnage takes over the Silver Surfer, which is awesome. And this one coming out in 1998, I was pretty much collecting comics during this time in 1998, so I remember seeing this one and wanting it, and I did have it was a 430 and 431. I had a raw copy of each of them, but when I got into 9.8s about 3 years ago, this is one I targeted for sure, and I got 2 of them, just for the nostalgia value and the coolness of the cover pretty much. But I think it's got some potential leading into Let There Be Carnage. Hopefully Carnage is just looking so cool. This one, 222 CGC 9.8s in the blue label. So this is 1998, the late 90s. Comic book popularity starting to cool off by this time. So this one likely not nearly as heavily printed as early 90s comics or even 1980s comics. 41.8%, the 9.8 percentage. So not anything, of a special relative rarity in the 9.8 or anything like that. Maybe kind of heating up this one with a recent sale of $299.99. But if you go back about a month or so, one sold for $179.99 and one sold for $199.99. And yeah, one of mine was like $150 and one of mine was $170 basically. So right around kind of the lower end of the range still, I think it's totally worth it. Yeah, if you're a huge Carnage fan, certainly if you remember this one from the 90s like me, it's just one to want, but there could still be some upside for this one if Carnage really takes off in the Let There Be Carnage movie. Okay, next one's a really cool Carnage key issue. An Amazing Spider-Man number 344. First appearance of Cletus Kasady. I think it's like first appearance of Cardiac or something like that. Kind of a Spider-Man villain, I guess. But you're getting this for first appearance of Cletus Kasady. Pretty cool collector item, I think. Was interested to see how this one's been trending. This one was one you could have got for the sort of 125 to 150 range like a year ago about. So it's trending decently. There's 805 9.8s in the blue label. 32.6% of all graded copies are CGC 9.8. So looking at those prices, there was one maybe a couple weeks ago for $350 that had sold, and I saw another one sell recently for $415. So, I think, first Cletus Kasady, it's a cool one. The cover is like he's not on the cover or anything, so you don't get like a cool Carnage cover or anything. So personally, $400-ish, I would take that $400, probably put it toward a 361 if you don't have an Amazing Spider-Man 361. But if you're the biggest Carnage fan, you'll probably still want this one, first Cletus Kasady. I think it's still doable, sort of closer to 350 rather than over 400 in the CGC 9.8. All right, next one's a really cool one. It's a Venom versus Carnage number 1. And maybe a bit of a 2-for-1 on this because we'll talk about even Venom versus Carnage number 2. Basically, in number 1, it's first appearance of Patrick Mulligan. And then in issue 2, Patrick Mulligan becomes Toxin. And Toxin is basically an offspring of the Carnage symbiote, I guess. So maybe like the son of Carnage you hear is Toxin. So Venom vs. Carnage number 1, they're pretty affordable. I think they're cool key issues to consider if you're a big Carnage fan. There's 309 9.8s in the blue label of issue number 1. Issue number 1 is the more popular of the two. I think it's like 200 or maybe even 100 and something 9.8s in number 2. So 309 9.8s in the blue label in issue 1, 65.2% the 9.8 percentage, so not really a special relative rarity. Keeping it affordable though, issue number 1 selling in an auction here for $102.50. That I think is a fantastic price. Yeah, whoever picked that one up. Or whoever picked that up. This one's pretty much selling all the way up to 200 if you have a look in kind of the last 3 months of completed sales. You're patient, you wait in an auction, $102.50. If you want it now, $175 to $200 possibly if you really want it. And maybe there's some potential with Toxin there. This is kind of Clayton Crane art, and I'm a fan of that. So these are ones I've considered in the past. And actually, Venom vs. Carnage number 1 around $102.50 would be so tempting. So yeah, some affordable Carnage keys that will probably spike up if Carnage is looking awesome on Venom 2. Alrighty, last one here is an Amazing Spider-Man number 362. Yeah, so 361, first full appearance of Carnage. 362, Venom joins the fight, and such a classic cover. Yeah, Mark Bagley, classic Bagley here. One to just have and enjoy looking at for sure. A great affordable one as well. If you're like the biggest fan of this one, you can think about it in the newsstand version, which is a little more expensive. Even you see a lot of like signed newsstand versions of this one, I find. But in the blue label, 9.8 here, 2,613 CGC 9.8s, 57.6% the 9.8 percentage, so not a real special relative rarity, which keeps it pretty cheap. In the blue label, seen him sell for $175, saw another one sell for $150. I think maybe if you're patient, you wait in an auction for this one, you maybe get it for like $130 to $140 right now. It's kind of heating up, but certainly in the direct edition, this was one. Even 6 months to a year ago, it was still $80, $70. So it's heated up a little bit. But if you're the biggest Carnage fan, and hopefully Carnage is a big hit on this movie, I think, in the blue label, $150 or less, I still think is a really good deal right now. But, an affordable one to consider, certainly right in that $150 price range. A cover you can just enjoy so much if you're a big Carnage fan. So, I definitely felt like I wanted to have it in my collection. I got even 363 is just another like really nostalgic cover. I just remember that cover so much from when I was a kid and wanted it so much. So that's another one I got in the 9.82. That's kind of in the same zone as this one, as just a great classic cover, but maybe not, you know, the biggest key issue. But if you're on a bit of a budget, you know, a good 9.8 to think about. All right, team. So just getting through some underfollowed Carnage keys before Let There Be Carnage comes out, because certainly, and we talk about this quite a bit on the channel, once the movie comes out, you know, the hype's going to increase, the demand is going to increase, and the prices are going to increase even more than they've increased already. So, you know, now's the time to buy some of these Carnage keys if you're going to buy them before the Venom 2 movie. All right, team. We'll leave it at that, though. Thanks so much for watching, as always, and we'll see you on the next one. Hey team, if you're liking this content, please subscribe and hit that bell, and I'll keep you updated on future videos.